Oh, yeah, we hear that a lot, Matt, that it seems it takes a lot in tech to create a simple experience and a simple product.
Hello, good morning or good evening, wherever you are and whatever you are doing, whether you're out for a run, doing the ironing, or maybe even this week back in the gym. Thanks for joining us. Matthew Grant here, partner at Instech London. Now, whilst there has been a lot of emphasis in the last few years on the startups bringing new ideas and technology into insurance, there is an even bigger group of companies that have the potential to really change how insurers work with their clients, understand and price for risk. And these are the companies that have been market leaders in other fields, which are starting to realize their customers and data makes them very well placed to partner up with established insurers and brokers. SafetyCulture is a great example of an organization that comes from outside of insurance, but which is in finding that its success in helping companies manage their health and safety risk through technology also gives their clients an advantage when talking to insurance companies about their own risk management. We've known SafetyCulture for a few years, and it's been fascinating to watch this fast-growing Australian company enter into the insurance market and begin to work with some of the largest global companies. Dan, it's great to have you joining us for the Instech London podcast. I've been a great fan of SafetyCulture, following you for a number of years. And today you're continuing in your mission to help companies make safer and higher quality workplaces. You've got your flagship product, iAuditor. And we're going to hear more about that and how that's used. But I think you've got something like 27,000 companies globally running over 600 million checks a year, which is pretty impressive. And also, you've now raised over 100 million US dollars. So you are a very well-established company, and it's great to sort of dig a little bit more into what you're up to. So thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, Matt. Thanks for having me. And yeah, things have got quite large quite quickly, which is exciting.
Good. Well, before we talk about SafetyCulture, I'm really intrigued to hear about your own background. We joke a little bit at Instech London that we help people find partners. We normally mean business partners, but in your previous life, when I think you were in Australia, you actually set up a business that was a real dating agency. So really interested to know, how you got into that, or at least how you got into that, and how you ended up in a technology company.
It's a strange bridge from online dating to a mobile inspection platform that iAuditor is. But yeah, I've exited investment banking in my mid-20s, and then I've had a raft of businesses from retail chains to online businesses. The last one, as you mentioned, online dating, was a little bit of an ill-fated venture. But about 4 years ago, we got put in touch with Luke, who's the founder of SafetyCulture, and that's when I took on this job as general manager of the EMEA region for SafetyCulture.
Great. And so with that, you've got an office in Manchester, you've got a presence in the UK, so head office in Australia, but you've got a pretty sizable presence in Europe now, don't you?
Yeah, we've got about 400 people in the business. All of our engineering team and product teams, about 100 people there. They're all based in Sydney. And then we've got a good office in Manila. But we split really the world into our APAC region, Americas region, and EMEA. And we run EMEA from our office here in Manchester, where we've got about 60 staff now.
Okay. Well, clearly you're doing something right if you're managing to get 27,000 companies using you for their checks. But can you just talk a little bit more about iAuditor, which is your main product, and what problem are you helping companies solve with that?
Yeah, sure. So iAuditor is a mobile inspections tool. You can download it from the App Store for free. I think this is one of the differences about our product compared to a lot of products. You can download it for free and then build your own templates within the product. So whether it's a manufacturing 5S inspection or a daily point of sale check in a retail store, whatever that process, that checklist, you can build it and customize that in iAuditor. Share it out to your colleagues who can do inspections, and then that inspection or check will share with relevant people, automatically generate a report, and all the data synchronizes to the cloud, where there's a really powerful analytics and insights platform, so you can see what's working and what's not working across your business real time.
So you sort of cracked this problem from two sides, haven't you? So you've made a tool that is doing that classic thing of sort of nudge behavior and engaging with people to manage their own risk, but you're also then able to start pulling off data so you can look at it, I guess, on the aggregate and start to see some themes across different industries and different sort of applications.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so much inspection data across businesses is tied up in bits of paper sitting on someone's desk or a tray somewhere, or an email somewhere. By doing inspections and having them done in mobile, number one, it's kind of an addictive end user experience, and where everything in our business revolves around that end user. It takes half the time to do an inspection. You can take photographs and annotate photos when you're doing an inspection. You can create an action right then and there. So it's a really compelling end user experience, which leads to more and shorter and more frequent inspections being done. I only had the app around for 8 years, and it's really only in the last 3 or 4 years that we've started to harness the power that's in that data set. All the millions of data points of people saying yes, no, and photographing things, and all the failed items on our web platform now, being able to help companies spot across all of their sites which sites aren't doing scheduled inspections, or which ones aren't closing out actions, or which ones have the best rate of failed items. Or it can really help companies work out what they should do proactively to manage safety.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, presumably then you've got consent from your clients to use their data, presumably in some kind of anonymized form.
Yeah, well, actually, any data that a client has, all of their inspection data belongs to the customer. We don't share that with any other client. That's paramount. But even within a single client, we might have a hotel chain with 5,000 hotels, or a mining company with a bunch of different mines or sites. You can all your inspection data is associated with certain sites or locations within iAuditor. So even just within a business, across your estate, you can see trends and what's working and what's not working, where you need to focus your efforts.
Good. Well, I want to just come back to that a little bit, and we're going to talk about how that's used for insurance. But you mentioned Luke, your founder and CEO, but there's quite an interesting story about how he got into this originally. Could you just talk a little bit about what took him from being an individual, well, I guess he was a consultant at the time, into building a technology business?
Yeah, I mean, Luke's had a fascinating, very rich life, including a period as a private investigator working for insurance companies to see if people claiming workplace injuries were really injured. All of this led him, I think he spotted back in around 2012 that now that workers across work sites actually have a little computer in their pocket with smartphones, he was interested in whether people would want to actually do their own inspections, do their own risk assessment before they put up a bit of scaffolding, do their own safety check down a mine shaft. So he launched this app, iAuditor, in 2012, based in Townsville in far north Queensland in Australia, which is not renowned as a tech hub, but 8 years later, 27,000 companies using iAuditor to manage that safety inspection process.
And that theme is becoming stronger and stronger now. This idea of predict and prevent as a way of identifying what the losses or could be, or getting there early. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting in that it started off in one area, and like a lot of things is now moving into another area. And we'll talk a little bit about how that happened in a minute. But just before we do that, you've got some quite well-known companies on your list of clients. I notice you've got JD Sports and KLM in there, the airline. I'm not quite sure where they're getting on these days, but JD Sports would be interesting because certainly anybody in the UK knows them well. I mean, can you sort of give us some specifics about how they're using iAuditor in practice?
Yeah, I mean, as you touched on, we have an incredible diversity of customers. Just in Europe, we have about 9,000 companies using us, from construction to manufacturing, retail, hospitality, from circuses to space exploration, and sort of everything in between. I think there's a group in South Africa that uses to monitor the poachers of the white rhino, so they can try to form some trends as to where incursions are happening and where they're having incidents. So fascinating use cases. Someone like JD Sports, or a lot of our retail customers, we work with JD and Foot Asylum and a bunch of retailers. They use us for use cases such as safety, so doing safety checks in stores. Their area managers will use iAuditor to do inspections when they go and do their weekly or monthly visit of stores. They might do point of sale or brand standards checks in stores to make sure, it might be a daily check to make sure the right point of sale's out. It's really interesting for groups like Foot Asylum, who have about 70 stores. They sell trendy youth footwear. As they re-emerged and reopened after COVID, they've created their own template about what stores need to do every day, from simple things like making sure the anti-bac containers are full, making sure the signage is still in good condition, and a range of other checks specific to their setups. And they're shared out to all of their retail stores who have to do these checks every day. And then in head office, they can make sure that they've got perfect compliance across their business. And it's really important, as we're finding now, is there's going to be likely to be localized breakouts, and we've just changed from 2 meter distancing to 1 meter distancing. Businesses need to constantly update and evolve these standards across their networks. And with iAuditor, it's real time. You make those changes real time, and the revised templates are pushed out to relevant stores real time.
Yeah, I mean, that's really fascinating because I suppose the risk for a company like yourselves would have been in the last 3 months, a big chunk of your clients would have gone quiet because uh, we didn't have people on site. But I mean, all that I think moved fairly quickly. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a whole different set of risks now, which of course creates some more opportunities. I mean, one of the things when I saw it in action, I thought was really useful was the way somebody can take a photograph of a hazard and then email someone and say, look, there's a cable trip hazard lying here. Can you go and remove it? And then there's a kind of audit within the tool that makes sure someone actually has gone and removed it. So you're not just reporting on has something been done, but actually you're actively reducing the risks.
Yeah, we call those actions. So, the product's evolving at a rate of knots now, but we started as an inspections tool. And the actions functionality really beefed up about a year ago so that when you spot something wrong, you can create an action. Just as you mentioned, you can take a photo and you can say, the window's broken or the sign needs to be replaced or whatever it might be. And you can create a due date for it and an urgency for it and assign it to someone in the business. And then through the web platform, there's a full action tracking capability. So you can keep track of when things are resolved. You can also require them to attach evidence. So if I'm a site manager and I go to a construction site and I see a peg that's not properly hidden, I'll take a photo, create an action, assign it to the site manager. And I can then require the site manager to take a photo once it's been resolved. So I'll close out that action once I've seen resolution.
So what you're doing sounds, I wouldn't say obvious, but it is sort of obvious. And the tech can't be that difficult. Are there lots of other companies doing the same thing? Or have you got a sort of moat, the classic moat around what you do, making it difficult for other people to compete?
Oh, yeah, we hear that a lot, Matt, that it seems it takes a lot in tech to create a simple experience and a simple product. So we have over 100 software engineers building the product, and it takes a lot of discipline as well as a business to have a really streamlined, simple to use end user product that works effortlessly online, offline, automatically syncs to the cloud when it can. There's a lot of complexity behind building a simple product. There's a lot of other tools like form builders or SurveyMonkey or those sorts of tools, but they're pretty lightweight. Ours is really highly configurable tool. So, and because it can be used across industry, we don't have a whole lot of competitors that operate across industry and across use cases like we do. Within certain verticals, within hospitality or within construction, there might be some sector specific inspection tools. But yeah, we don't have across the whole base, we don't seem to have a whole lot of competition.
I love that comment. It takes a lot to build a simple tool. I mean, it is so true. I think anybody that starts to dabble in technology pretty quickly realizes all the challenges you can have. Now, I was at your event last year in the days when we actually had face-to-face events, and it was hence how I've sort of seen the product in action. And what was really interesting for me at that stage is I had two of the major brokers independently I was talking to who mentioned the reason they were there was because their clients had actually alerted them to what you're doing at SafetyCulture and actually had asked them how they could use the work they were doing to demonstrate that they had good risk management and health and safety practices as part of their sort of the benefits in the insurance buying process. So clearly this is an area where you don't often find, which is you're getting a drive from brokers and insurers to use new technology. I mean, it does happen, but it's always really intriguing to know how that works out. So what is happening in that space now in insurance? I know there's one we can talk about shortly, one example that you've been public with one company, but I'm just intrigued to hear what's happened as you sort of moved into insurance more generally.
Yeah, it's interesting. We didn't approach this insurtech space with an insurtech agenda. We actually had one of our customers about 2 years ago, quite a significant company, a retail chain, asked us to send their invoice for the product to their insurance company, which really piqued our interest. And we found out that they'd been sharing a lot of their inspection data with their broker actually, and been able to source significantly better deals at renewal. So that really piqued our interest into whether there would be appetite by insurers and brokers in working with us to help distribute iAuditor out to all of their client base. And what we found from the last couple of years is that there's certainly a move here. I mean, at the big end of town, companies may benefit from the services of a Marsh Risk Consulting or some more high-touch risk consulting. But for the mid-market, insurers and brokers are looking for products now like iAuditor that they can help equip their clients with to really improve their risk profile of those businesses and improve claims rates, but also to help them with claims defensibility. And I guess thirdly, to help them differentiate their proposition in the market. We see some insurers and brokers that we work with around the world, some of them like to fund the licenses on behalf of their clients, whereas others like to build these incredible toolkits of templates in iAuditor so that when their clients can access iAuditor, they get this suite of loss prevention or risk management toolkits prepared by the insurer or broker.
Well, certainly, I mean, any insurance company that's willing to pay for this for their clients, I can see be really interesting. I mean, they have the bursaries, which I guess is part of that, where there is some money put aside as part of the underwriting. And I think some of that money comes from that. And we'll talk a bit about defensibility in a minute, but I know you're doing quite a lot of work with QBE as one of the companies you can talk about. Can you sort of give an example about how they are working with your clients?
Yeah, so we work with, I think across globally, we're working with top 5 carriers and brokers now. So one of the parties we work with extensively in Australia is QBE. In the UK, we're working heavily with Aviva. In North America, we're working with Zurich, is a deal we've just very recently penned. And the structure of all of those deals are slightly different. Some of them involve the carrier actually funding licenses for their clients, and other deals are more around distribution, where their customers can access preferred pricing and this toolkit of templates.
And how sort of open are they or transparent are they about doing that? Because that seems to me, I mean, it's a great marketing tool that they're doing that.
Yeah, it is. This is like with any sale process. I think across the insurer broker space, there's a range of attitudes to and drivers for what they're prioritizing at the moment. And there's certainly a movement amongst a lot of insurers brokers to try to put together a toolkit of products that they can offer to their clients en masse, more low cost or self-serve products to help them drive their resilience. So that's really where we're plugging in. We certainly work at the bigger end of town, but across sort of mass deployments or making this product available en masse across their client portfolios is what we're seeing a lot of traction with at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. So I guess you kind of got 2 models. One is you work with the insurance companies and then they help fund the distribution of, and I guess it's a more advanced version of iAuditor, isn't it? Because as you said, you can download it for free. So presumably there's a kind of simple version you can just do for free, but then there's a more meaty version you've got to pay for. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Once you reach certain usage thresholds, then you push through our paywall. So you can use it for free with a team of 10 people, and you can do up to 8 inspections a month. But for most businesses of a certain size, they'll push through that quite quickly, and they'll then move on to a per user pricing. So we might find that an insurer or a broker will be working with the client. Maybe they've done a site visit, they'll see that they're using paper inspection processes, or maybe they're coming off the back of a claim, which there wasn't a whole lot of evidence of good housekeeping around. And it'll be the insurer or the broker suggesting to the company that they could improve their risk, their inspection practice, and referring in a product like iAuditor. Or even if it's around the time of renewal, proposing that as part of a deal, that there's certain quantity of iAuditor licenses included.
Yeah, that latter one is particularly popular as a way of helping clients or finding new clients for brokers. So if you've got like distressed business or someone that suffered a claim, finding some technology that can be associated with the company can really help reduce sort of what might be otherwise a quite expensive insurance renewal cost.
The interesting thing, I think, is that we're perfectly aligned vision-wise with the carriers. We want to, fundamentally, we as a business, we want to reduce injuries in workplaces and improve safety. And this is really what insurers want as well. They want to reduce the claims rate and have a better risk profile in their portfolios.
Good. Well, I just want to talk about defensibility, and then I'm just quite intrigued by some more stories to the extent you're willing to share with them, because I'm sure you see lots of examples of things that don't go wrong, or examples of why you do need to do this. Defensibility, as I understand it, is the point that if there's a claim against an insurer and they can show evidence for their client that their client had put in place the appropriate health and safety processes and education and training, then they can actually push back on a claim. And so one of the benefits of iAuditor is that is as a material part of settling a claim, or just defending it from even going into any kind of court case. Is that a sort of correct understanding about how you use it?
Yeah. I mean, that's spot on. I mean, a robust approach to health and safety backed by a set of demonstrable, regular safety checks is really critical in dealing with all claims, particularly costly injury claims. It can reduce certainly the severity of claims and at best eliminate the claim completely.
So what other examples have you seen where examples of probably lack of use of iAuditor?
On defensibility, an exciting story we heard recently from a customer, I won't use names, we actually heard this from the carrier, but they had within their sites, they're a large kitchen fitting business. And within their workshops, they had a contracted cleaner who reported that she had slipped over and had £95,000 worth of head injuries because she slipped over on water from a leaky water fountain. The policy had no deductible, so the insurer was liable for all of this claim, which they were going to pay out, wasn't worth fighting. And then they liaised with the EHS manager at that client, who said that they actually have inspection processes, and they accessed iAuditor and they could pull out all of the daily safety checks that they did, which evidenced really good housekeeping. And in fact, around this water fountain, there had never been a leak and there was no evidence of leaks. And the timestamp on it was quite close to the claim that the cleaner had claimed that she'd slipped. So with all this suite of really good proof of housekeeping, they were able to present this back to the claimant and the claimant's lawyers, and the case was dropped. So that's just a really classic example of how good housekeeping and having these easily accessible records enabled insurers to fight back on claims.
And you mentioned EHS in there, for those that don't know the terminology of the health and safety world.
Environment, health, safety. That's okay. Sort of typically a person in our type of business is responsible for that health and safety department.
Good. I got the H&S right. So environmental. Good. And then for insurance companies that want to work with you, or brokers that want to work with you, what's the best way to, once they've kind of had their free use of iAuditor and checked you out, what's the best way of engaging with you?
Yeah, I would just encourage anyone. We've got an insurance team now that's looking, it's a real priority for us to build out this channel. I mean, we sell direct to customers. It's how we sell all of our software. In fact, we don't do much marketing. It's mainly customers just adopting our product from App Store. A new company signs up every 2 minutes for our product. So what we're really looking for now is insurers, brokers, anyone in this space, risk consultants that are interested in equipping their clients with a low-cost tool like iAuditor to manage their risk profile. Please reach out to us, and whether that's directly through to me or through you, Matt. Ideally, you can flick on an email. Please reach out to us. I'm happy to give my contact details, and we can see if there's alignment and some capacity to work together.
Good. Just come back to something you mentioned in there, and talk about insurers more generally, which is wearables. There's quite a lot happening in that, particularly in the US, around workers' compensation and making sure people aren't heavy lifting or other things. Are you getting into that area yet, or is it something you're sort of looking at in terms of sensors and IoT?
Yeah, certainly. Sensors and IoT is a really big focus for us. We've got a solid team working on that. We'll be announcing some news very shortly on sensors and a new product that we're bringing to market. Less so wearables, but IoT is really big. The main product that we'll be bringing to market is a temperature and humidity sensor. And we see clients using this like a big yogurt manufacturer. Instead of all of their refrigerated areas and all of their fridges will have little temperature sensors. And if ever it goes above a set range, it'll trigger an alarm in iAuditor and assign an action for someone to resolve, to go and address that issue. And that really provides significant ROI in terms of loss prevention and stopping spoiled stock. Yeah, we see people using sensors in server rooms and all sorts of interesting use cases. We're letting people hook in data feeds into iAuditor now, so you can bring in like weather feeds, so that if you have, I'm not sure, some sort of construction or some sort of at height equipment, and when wind reaches a certain threshold, it could set an alarm and notify certain people on site. So bringing in data feeds and sensors is a really exciting part of the product that's building out.
You're solving one of the problems in Sarah, because my sense is that most people intuitively understand why sensors and IoT is a good thing between the insurance company and the client. But the challenge is, I think, is how to scale it and how to measure it. And then you've got too much data, and therefore you've got to analyze it. Or haven't got enough. And it feels like to me you've got a pretty strong, a lot of people out there using what you're doing. And if you can build onto it, then you're already hit the ground running, don't you, as opposed to having to convince people to work with you and put sensors in.
I think that's right, Matt. We've been talking about wearables for a long time, but it's taking quite a while to find a really compelling use case. Telematics has clearly been hugely successful, and that's a space that we're investing in. But yeah, we got really clear on the most compelling use cases, and it seemed that temperature and humidity were really easy to understand use cases across a whole lot of our customers. So we've been distributing sensors into our business, into our client base for about 6 months now, with all the alerts and notifications built in. Because it's not just about, as you said, it's not just about collecting the data. It's about having really actionable information so people can resolve something speedily to on site. So that's exciting. We've got a lot of customers as well that come to us with their own sensor network. Maybe they bought thousands of sensors from a different provider in the past. And we have the capability where customers can come to us with their own sensor network, and we can help them all that sensor data be ingested into the SafetyCulture platform. So the ability to bring your own sensor hardware is it's been great as well.
I reckon that the future is going to be a lot more about the people that own the platform and can deliver multiple data sets and analytics, but they're kind of presented in a coherent, actionable way. So it sounds very much like you've got both the distribution with your clients and users, plus that ability to bring more data. So I think it'd be really interesting to watch that space. Just going back to Aviva, you mentioned them briefly, but you offered a free service to Aviva's clients, I believe, just during the pandemic to help people. Can you just talk a bit more about what that was?
Yeah, so we penned a partnership with Aviva earlier on this year when COVID wasn't even a word that we knew about. And, Aviva customers could access their toolkit of templates and some preferential pricing. When COVID hit, we swung into a slightly different mode where we wanted to help all of our clients and Aviva's clients as rapidly as we could. So we went out to market with Aviva with a specific offer for Aviva clients. They could access iAuditor for free for a period of time, as well as we gave them all sorts of enhanced onboarding and support to access iAuditor to manage safety across their businesses, specifically in regards to COVID. And that's been really exciting. We're still seeing a whole bunch of customers take this up as they start to reopen their businesses. Soon, I think we'll head back into more normal times, fingers crossed, where the work we're doing with Aviva and distributing this to their clients will be for more standard safety use cases and not just COVID related.
So just a couple more things then, in terms of what's coming up next for SafetyCulture, anything you can reveal or hint at that we should be looking out for in the next few months?
Yeah, I think your comments before about being a platform were spot on. So we've really evolved from being just that inspections app to a safety management platform. So these other key parts of our roadmap include incident reporting. And we've had a separate incident reporting app for a little while, but we're now rolling that into the core iAuditor experience so that our customers can do inspections and can also spot incidents or near misses in their business, along with all the analytics that goes with that. So that's incredibly exciting. That's launching in the coming months. In addition, we're looking more at training and micro-learning platforms. And again, we have an app in App Store at the moment that we're testing. And this enables businesses to record short 2-minute learning videos on mobile and distribute them out to their teams, followed by a couple of questions. And you can see how all of these things can loop in. If I've got one of my sites not doing the right inspections, or maybe they're having too many failed items to do with incorrect PPE, you could assign them a learning course on appropriate PPE. So all of these things will feed in, and the analytics and insights platform sitting across all parts of it. I think over the next quarter, we're really looking to push out further with insurers and brokers who are aligned with us.
Yeah, that video makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can do a lot in 2 minutes, and that's probably, some people, their attention span is much more than that. But I can see how if you just done well, it could make a big difference. Good. Well, almost there, Dan. One thing I just want to call out, you very kindly offered to make available your space in Manchester when we took Instech on tour to the north of England, or the more northern part than London anyway, and hopefully we'll be able to get back together again and not be too socially distanced and use that, because we're very keen to expand the footprint we're doing, and some really interesting companies up in outside of London, and obviously you're based in Manchester as well as your operation in London. So look forward to that. And also just finally, thank you very much for your support for Instech London. I mean, what was it that we're doing that brought you along as a member?
Yeah, to your first point, we're certainly happy to extend northern hospitality to anyone who wants to travel up this way. So please reach out if you're ever up in Manchester and keen for a coffee once we're back in face-to-face mode. Instech, I think, was particularly compelling. I don't think there's two guys that understand this space better than yourself and Robin. And as a network of the Instech community, it really helps us align, or certainly keep up to speed, but align with carriers, brokers, risk consultants, who are more forward-looking and seeking partnerships or better ways to benefit their clients. So that was why it was so compelling for us to join up with you guys this year.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, I think the flip side to it is that your proposition is so straightforward and easy to understand, but it just fits so cleanly into that point we talked about, that I think it's a great example. And I I use you a lot to make me sound as though I'm actually informed, but it's just because it's such a good, clear story. No, so thank you very much, Dan. That has been really great. We covered a lot there. And as you said, we'll put the links in the episode notes. Anybody that wants to find you, or if they can't get them from there, come through to me directly and we'll put you in contact. But no, thanks very much.
Great stuff. Good. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having us.
Well, if you're interested in learning more about SafetyCulture and iAuditor, you'll find information in the episode notes. If you've enjoyed this or any of our other podcast episode, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a rating on whatever podcast app you use. It really does help. And if there's anyone you'd like to hear from on our podcast, or you want to make contact just to find out what we're doing at Instech London, then you can find me on LinkedIn at Matthew Grant, or you can find us at www.instech.london.